Just loading now.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, we're live. Yep.
Oh, we've got a weird kickback. Seems to have disappeared to April, doesn't it?
Now. No, still live.
Yeah, no, I meant
Live. Yep.
Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there some feedback coming back?
There was a little bit there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That might have been because it's just gone live on mine, so it was like playing, possibly.
Okay, so if anyone's tuning in here, you're preparing for the T&Fs session with the Union Safety Reps. Welcome. My name's Chris Webb, Head of Communications. With me is Tracy Fussy from the National Executive and April O'Neill from our comms team. We're just getting everything ready. We won't be kicking off until 1 o'clock. We just wanted to make sure that you had a link that Dave Dukes could send out, and that you could join us, and we could get as many people online before. So here's Dave joining the meeting. Hello, Dave.
Hiya.
We're just to let you know, buddy, we're already live on YouTube.
Okay.
So April's going to send you the link shortly, so you can email out to the USRs. But I've told everyone that we're not going. You're not commencing a meeting, or Tracy isn't, rather, until 1 o'clock. But we're just building an audience and getting everyone online, mate.
Got you. Good stuff. Okay.
So April, you're going to get Dave the link over, aren't you?
Yeah, you should have it now, Dave.
Okay.
Well done, mate.
Andy Kerr's just coming in now as well.
Excellent. But tell Andy he's live.
Hi, Andy. We're live, just to let you know. Don't know if you can hear me.
Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How you doing, mate? It's Chris. Just to let you know, we're already live on YouTube. We're just building the audience, ready for Tracy to kick it off, buddy.
All right. Well, get me off this camera then.
No worries, mate. You got 10 minutes or so.
Right. Is it live? Because I was going to speak to Dave before this, but anyway, if it's live, I can't.
Yeah. You might be able to mute each other and give each other a call, mate. I would do. If you mute.
Dave, are you on there?
Yeah, he's on, but he's muted, mate.
I'll give him a quick call. Okay. That's a good idea, Chris. Thanks for that, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Oh dear. Yep, so you're not in the wrong place if you're viewing this video. We have 10 minutes or 12 minutes to go, and we're just prepping, we're just building the audience, making sure we can get as many of our safety reps on board as we possibly can. And then I'm going to head off, and Tracy Fussy from our National Executive is going to take the reins and chair the meeting. So I'm sure that she's looking forward to as many questions coming in as possible from all you watching live. You're going to have two ways to do that. You can comment in the YouTube function, and also in the title of the session on YouTube. April, who is from our comms team, has put her number there. So if you want to drop April a WhatsApp or a text, and she'll make sure that question gets straight through to Tracy, so we can ask our panelists. So there's lots of ways for you to engage in this session. I'm just gonna.
Looks like there's about 5 people on so far.
Okay, well that's good, because that's showing that people obviously are getting to the right place, isn't it? If you are joining us, you're one of those 4 or 5 people who are watching us. Welcome again. My name's Chris Webb. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to be really good and put my camera on for you. So my name's Chris Webb. I'm Head of Communications at the CWU. I'm wearing proudly, by the way, my CWU Against Racism football shirt. Can be bought for $24.99 from all reputable outlets. See the CWU Facebook and Twitter page. But what we're here for today is a really vibrant session with our USRs, and we're looking forward to as many of you coming on as possible. And Tracy's going to chair the session, but I think Andy Kerr is going to lead off. Dave Dukes and a number of our executive members are going to join us as well. But the most important part of the session, apart from those guys updating you, is taking your questions. We've had a number of them which have come in advance, and we're excited at getting many, many more in. So please text or WhatsApp the number on the title of the session on YouTube, or you can actually put a comment in the YouTube, which will pick YouTube stream, which will pick up as well. So plenty of ways for you to engage in the union's work here this afternoon. And we've now got 10 people online with us for 10 minutes to go. So yeah, I feel almost obliged to talk to you. I'm sorry, what kind of Andy and Dave are having a chat about the session and getting themselves prepped up. Tracy's coming online with me to keep everyone company. Well done, Tracy. So you're looking forward to the session with the USRs? Yeah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, Chris. I think we are. We've never done it before, so it's a little bit of I guess, an experiment, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and you've got, I suppose, with the art of a live stream, you've got the fact that it lives on afterwards, and you can send a link out to the reps who because some reps will be working or will be on leave, etc. So it's nice that they get to be able to view the session at their own leisure, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So I'll just to repeat, I will be dropping off. Tracy, you're going to take the reins. You're going to be chairing the meeting. I'm sure you encourage people to ask as many questions as possible, particularly the really, really difficult ones. You like them, don't you?
Yeah, I'll be fielding them ones out to other panelists, I can assure you.
That's a good thing about when you're chairing the session, is you can it'll live up to the devilment within you to be able to pass those questions on.
Yeah, I fully will, don't you worry. I can see you wearing the CW branded football top there, Chris.
Yeah, CW against racism, yeah. £99, £2.50 for every shirt going to Fair Share, food bank charity, and £2.50 going to this union's anti-racism educational charity work. So I've also got, I could fully kit it out actually, because I've got CW Against Racism baseball cap, which has arrived at my house today.
Very cool.
Yeah, well, cool. It was not and CW Against Racism stickers. So I'm fully kit out for my big session tonight on anti-racism on the union's Facebook page. So we're looking forward to that too. But before we get to that, Tracy, this is a vital session engaging our USRs on that workplace safety work, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. I'm not sure how many we got on, Chris. Do we know that?
I'm sure April can have a check for us.
13 at the moment.
We've got 13 people, so that's a good number in terms of like that means that the link that was sent out is all good and working, so people have found their way to the right place. I'm sure most people will click on it as we commence, I would imagine. Yeah, so the format again, everyone, because there's a few people who have joined since Tracy and I started the session, is if you've got a question, you've got two ways to do it. You can put a comment in the YouTube link directly. There's a section which says comments, so you can add in a question there. Or in the title of the session, you'll see there's a mobile phone number. You can text or WhatsApp that number, and those questions will all find their way to Tracy, who will put them to one of our fantastic panelists. We've got, I believe, Tracy, we've got Andy Kerr, Deputy General Secretary, to open the session today for us, and then we've got Dave Dukes, National Officers. Who else have we got coming on to the panel today?
Right, we're expecting Kathy Rhodes from Capita and Zoe Wormsley from Telefonica, and Julia, who works on the BT team as well. So that's who hopefully is going to be arriving soon. Otherwise, Dave's going to be really busy.
Dave's off for it. He's ready for it.
I'm here.
Oh, Andy, you are on.
Andy's been here ages. Yeah. Yeah, so only 6 minutes left of my job, which is to talk before we actually start the session, and then I'll Tracy and Andy and Dave will have the reins, and they'll I'm sure do a fantastic job in engaging on USRs. Just to let you know, we've got 25 people now online, guys, already for the session, which starts in 6 minutes.
Thanks, Chris.
And we've got also, Andy, we should also say, mate, we've got a date in the diary now for our Facebook Live with the, you're on mute, just to let you know, mate.
I think we'll have, yeah, I think we've got it agreed today, Chris. So
yeah, so a big session with Andy for T&Fs on the 29th, haven't we, at 6 p.m. Yeah, looking forward to that one. Exciting. Let's have a look online.
You're looking very fetching, Chris, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, on top. You missed the full merchandise. I've got the baseball cap as well.
Yeah.
I look like some sort of weird trucker.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
You're on mute, Zoe.
Yeah, you're on mute, Zoe.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm here.
Yeah,
Nice one.
We've got you. We've got 35 people now, so I think people have safely found their way via the link, Dave. So well done, mate. You've passed the technology test to start with.
Oh, thank you. It's the first time.
Right. Okay. Okay, for the final time, I'm just going to tell everyone you've got 2 ways to engage in this session today. Both of them will find their way through to Tracy, who's going to chair the session and hand out the questions to our excellent panelists. You can either comment on the YouTube feed and they'll be processed directly through to Tracy, or there's a number in the title of the session which you can either WhatsApp or text, and again they'll find their way through to Tracy's inbox, and she will be able to ask those questions and put them to our fantastic panelist. I believe, Tracy will correct me if I'm wrong, that Andy Kerr, Deputy General Secretary, is going to open the session, followed by Dave Dukes, and then we're going to hear a little bit from our panelists. Is that correct, Tracy?
Yeah, spot on, Chris.
Very good, I got it right then, that's good news. Well, we've got 2 minutes to go. What I'm going to do is bid you farewell, if that's all right with you guys, and then you've got it under total control, I think, and have a fantastic session, and I hope everyone enjoys it, and I'll see you all later on.
Chris. See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, right. Okay, well, first of all, I just want to welcome everybody to what is our very first live with our USR session, and it's a bit of a novel approach, but we thought it was an appropriate time to bring you all together and spend some time with you. Firstly, I just want to make some introductions of who we've got on the panel today. We've got Andy Kerr, who's our DGST with us. Obviously, we've got Dave Dukes, who's Assistant Secretary, who leads on health and safety. We've got Zoe Wormsley, who's with us at the moment. We are expecting Julia Upton from BT and also Kathy Rose from Capita, so hopefully they will arrive shortly. Also got apologies from Debbie Court and Tom Cooper, who unfortunately can't join us this afternoon. And obviously myself is Tracy Fussey, who's chair of the team. And I just want to explain that you do have, I know Chris has been talking to you already in terms of just before the call, but you do have the ability to pose questions to the team, so hopefully you'll do that throughout the session. And we do intend to cover as many questions as we possibly can throughout the session, but obviously we'll have to manage that in terms of time. But any that we don't get to cover, we certainly will come back to you, you know, after the session afterwards. The session is going to be recorded, so as soon as it's finished, what we will do, we'll make sure that that's communicated out to all branches, and you can have a copy of that and share it on moving forwards. So I think first of all, Andy, I'd like to hand over to you, and I know you've got a few words that you want to say to everybody. So thanks, Andy.
I think hopefully everybody can hear me. First of all, thanks, and I think thanks to the team first of all for setting this up today. I think this is one thing about COVID, it's actually give us a different way of working, and something I think we should be using much more going into the future, whatever that future may be. But I think I don't want to take up a lot of time at the beginning, because I think what Tracy said there is right. This is about a kind of question and answer session, and hopefully we can get as many questions in, and hopefully we will. Somebody on this side of the call should be able to answer the questions. But one thing I will say, I'm sure Dave would say the same thing. If there's a question does come up and we don't have the specific answer to it today, we'll take it away and we will get back to you. I think Dave will probably reiterate that in a second or two. But first of all, I would like to thank all the USRs and all the companies that we operate in. You know, there's hopefully people on the call today, certainly from BT, but we know that there should be people from O2 and Capita, and I'm led to believe CBRE on the call today, so that's good and really helpful. USRs are really important to us, and I think I have to stress that to you to the point. And they are, you know, the important, you know, union is part of the U is union. So you are part of us, and I think we have to make clear that you are part of the whole union, and you have a place in that, and you have an equal place as anybody else who does any other sort of role. But there is a role there for you, not just in safety, but promoting union and union values in lots of ways, and you do that, and you do that very well for us. And even in companies where we don't have recognition, we do set up union safety reps in some of these places, and quite often these are the people who start the campaigns that we have to organise in those sort of places. So union safety rep work in general is really, really important to our organisation. And as I said, I would like to thank you for it, and I would especially like to thank you over the last 14 weeks or so, longer, especially the work that you've been doing within COVID-19 and what's been happening in lots of companies. I think we've came a long way in the last 14 weeks. I think, you know, at the time in the lockdown, I don't think the companies knew exactly what they were doing. And to be fair, neither did we, if we're being truthful. And if it hadn't been for the feedback we got from a lot of yourselves as safety reps in the workplace, you know, in social distancing and cleanliness and all the other issues that came about, the feedback we got from you at that point in time in different companies was invaluable for us in our conversations that we had to have with those companies. And had it not been for the feedback that you gave us and the steers in some respects that you gave us, I don't think we would have been able to move in some of the areas as quick as we did. So I really mean it. A really big thank you to you all. And I say, as safety reps, you know, you're really important to us. You're really important to us as an organisation, as I said before, but even more so, you're really important to our members, and I think that's the main thing. You're the people on the front line. You're the people who you know, see the risks that's sometimes there and point them out to the companies, and we do resolve the matters. Sometimes maybe not as quick as some of you would like, and I suspect that'll be some of the questions that come back in some respects, but we do that, and I say it's invaluable to us. And you know, even in some of the companies, our safety reps have got good working relationships with the company, with the people in each of the companies who set up or from the company's perspective, our health and safety people, and having that relationship with them is really important. Again, so you can be able to pick up the phone, have that conversation, and quite often get things changed and put right before they become a real problem to us. So building relationships with those people is great, and I know you've done a good job in that. I think just lastly, for the point, I would say is health and safety in the CW is changing. It will change over the next period. I don't know how much people know about this. I don't know about it, but we are, as you know, going through a redesign issue. The General Secretary is putting us through the redesign, and we're looking at how the structures operate in head office. And there's always been a tie with health and safety into the industrial departments. And I think you'll find, certainly in the T&Fs, that's been pretty strong over the years. It's became even stronger over the last year or so, and that's why Dave is the person, the go-to person, if you like, at the moment for health and safety, and we're going to build on that as we go through it. No decisions have absolutely been taken on this issue just now, but it's quite clear that the health and safety for T&Fs will become more under the reporting line of the T&Fs and the team, the national telecom executive team that's sitting in front of you now, Kathy, Julia, Zoe, and obviously Tracy, and at the moment we've got Tom and Debbie Court and that too, working with Dave and liaising with yourselves on it. And it's important that we that's coming that way. I think we've always worked fairly well. I think we can work better. I always think that anyway, but we can work better. So we'll have to start to look as it becomes more under the control of the industrial department, how we actually operate. And it will probably change from where it is today. I don't mean necessarily, I know, well, it will be for the better, because we'll make sure it's for the better, not for the worse. And I want to make sure that yourselves are involved in that discussion. So from my perspective, we will, as things move on over the next few months or so, we will engage with you. We will take cognizance of what you say to us before we put things in place. But from my perspective, only thing I would say in that is there's two big things. It's I'm a big believer in structures. People who know me know I am. And getting the structures right. And I think we're not far away. It'd be fair to say. I think we're pretty good at what we do, but could we do it better? I don't know. We will. I think we probably could too. But the two most important things is accountability. Now we all have to be accountable to someone, and certainly accountable to the members. So there's accountability in the reporting lines and how we report each other, how we communicate, and that communication has got to be two ways between the safety reps, whether it's a workplace safety rep, whether it's a sort of branch role safety rep, or whether it's one of the, as we have in BT, regional safety reps, all got a role to play, all got a very important role to play in it. And we need to make sure that we're talking to each other properly. It's a two-way communication and we work together. The main thing is that we work together on health and safety. So thanks very much for your opportunity to hear. I'm going to certainly stay on the call and listen to what's been said. Hopefully you fire the questions more at Dave rather than me. But if I need to answer questions, I certainly will. But I'll certainly listen to and get the feedback from today. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you all coming on this call.
Okay, thanks, Andy, and obviously we appreciate your time out today to join us on here. Firstly, I'd like to hand over to Dave Dukes, and I know Dave, you've got a number of things that you want to introduce into the session.
Yeah, thanks Tracy, and Andy, thanks for your time. I know you're really busy, and you outlined sort of the possible changes that we need to make just to become that a little bit more effective. But we are doing a great job. But I just wanted to welcome everybody really, and hope that you and your families are well. I just wanted to thank you all, as Andy has said, for your work through this crisis has been incredible, and I know people have been involved in risk assessments, and as Andy said, making sure that workplaces are safe, and making sure that people are actually well, if you like. One of the things associated with COVID, there was a couple of things that are associated with COVID which you probably come across, is firstly sort of the mental health and well-being issues that are cropping up. People are under a great deal of strain, and I'm pretty sure yourselves, particularly the branch USRs, but everybody else as well, but those branch USRs who are actually working in amongst members are going to be confronted with some difficult conversations with people that are under real stress over this crisis, and we do appreciate what we're doing. And like I say, if you yourselves need help, then push that up through the branch, because I know I've had some difficult cases to deal with, and I'm pretty sure with yourselves out there in the workplace, I'm sure you will have some difficult conversations with members. The other bit, and you may or may not have seen, is that the personnel team actually part an LTB recently on domestic violence, and it's something the team has been pushing employers on as regards domestic violence. And the reason I raise this is not only is it a serious issue, but it's also an increasing issue and has been through this crisis. And this can sort of manifest itself in, for example, mental health problems for people at work and all those sorts of things. So again, the crisis has thrown up and magnified some of the problems that we were already dealing with, sort of mental health, well-being, and things like domestic violence. But the purpose of the call really is for you to sort of meet us, if you like, albeit through technology, and for you to give the opportunity to actually not necessarily speak directly, but ask questions about, you know, what we do, some of the issues you've got, some of the things that you can't resolve, and hopefully this will be something that you would like to. I'd like to continue to be honest and try a few more calls of this nature, but it's in your hands really. If you feel these would be useful to have, then you know I would certainly like, and I think all the people on the panel and others, Tom and Debbie, who can't make it, probably would want these to continue and have that interaction between ourselves at a national level and right down to the actual workplace union safety representative who actually they're working amongst their workmates and dealing with the safety issues that are confronting with. I'll probably stop there, Tracy, because what I'm keen on is people that are on the call to allow them to ask questions, and let's see how it goes. We'll ask people at the end of it and after the call if they want to continue with this type of call. So thanks.
Okay, thanks Dave for that, and I think that's a helpful introduction to the session we've got today. And we have actually got a question in already, and I'm going to pose it back at you so you don't sit too comfortably. There's a question coming in really, and I guess it's quite, you know, it's COVID related, and I think we'd expect many questions on COVID today. And we are getting lots of questions coming in, which I think is really great. So thank you for that and keep them coming. But Dave, there's one in particular, and it's about the reoccupation of workplaces, which obviously there's a move towards that now in many different companies. And I know that obviously you know there's lots of discussions with BT going on in that space. But I think what the question's really asking for is what discussions and what detail are you actually talking about, and should trade unions be engaged with in terms of the reoccupation of workplaces, in terms of obviously safety and all of that. So that's one over to you.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you, Tracy. I think if any of you have had time to look on the government websites and the Public Health England, and quite helpfully, if you like, even from this government, is that there's lots of references to the consultation with trade unions, because they recognise the skill that you've got as USRs, as union safety representatives, in the skill that you can put into action in order to keep people safe in the workplace. So that's been a recognition of the work you do, even by this government. So the other point about COVID and reoccupation is that the companies cannot just bring people back into the workplace. The workplace has to be made ready, and the companies have got legal obligations to actually make the workplace that you actually work in as safe as possible. So there's lots of hoops and risk assessments which we're involved, well, you're involved as USRs, that need to be undertaken, both generic, if you like, general sort of type of risk assessments, but also particular risk assessment, local risk assessments based on the building or the workplace that you're working in. So there's that people are involved in. But it is difficult to actually go into a building, look at all the things that should be taking place, the social distancing, the cleanliness, the travel to work, which has been an issue that I know the team have been dealing with. How do people get back to work on reoccupation and using public transport, and all the things that the government's put out as regards health and safety, travelling to work as a basic thing. So there's lots of things that I've been dealing with. I know the team have been dealing with very similar things with different employers, and virtually all the problems are the same. It's it's cleanliness, social distancing, travel to work, all those sorts of things. And if unfortunately somebody was had caught the virus, how do you actually make the workplace safe again after a confirmed case? There's all those sorts of issues that sort of I've been dealing with, and everybody else on the team. So it's a good question to start off with, particularly in the situation that we're in now.
Okay, thanks, Dave, for that. I think that's helpful. Zoe, we've got one coming in for you specifically, and once again it's COVID related. But there's a question coming in terms of how do you think Telefonica have handled the health and safety of our members during the lockdown period? And is there anything that you think that should have been improved on, done better? And where are you in terms of the Telefonica national team in dealing with these issues?
Yeah, so obviously we had the lockdown period, and you'll be aware that quite a number of Telefonica O2 stores have reopened this week for business. So we have been in consultation throughout the whole of the lockdown process. I do actually have to praise Telefonica for how they've handled employees during that time. They haven't furloughed any members of staff. They've kept everybody on full pay. Everybody that could work from home has been given the technology to do so, even in our call centres in Preston Brook, where it's a demanding environment. And within the stores, obviously, they had to completely close, and they kept those employees on full pay again, and they were at home and not necessarily having to undertake any work during that time. We have gone back into the stores this week, as I say. We had a number of consultations, quite in depth, and again, Telefonica went over and above, supplying employees with the PPE required. They've got visors, they've got face masks, all the stickers on the floor. They've removed areas where customers used to sit, so that there's none of that anymore. There's 2 customers allowed in store at any one time. They're using what they call a Quidini system. So a customer will, if it's the queue outside the shop, they'll take the customer's details and ask them to come back at a certain time, so that they're not hanging about outside the store. We've only had one incident, which has obviously risked somebody's health and safety during this week, and that was in Sheffield, where unfortunately a member of staff was assaulted by a member of the public. He was coming into her space. She reminded him of the 2-metre distancing. He got a bit angry and assaulted her, unfortunately, and we're dealing with that at the moment. But over the whole period, really, I think Telefonica have gone over and above what they needed to do, and they have consulted with us very regularly every week, and we've had different people on from different areas of the business speaking to us. So we've had somebody from retail one week, somebody from networks the week after, somebody from finance and professional services. So they have kept us up to date. And with regards reoccupying call centres, that's not going to happen at the moment. Everybody that can work from home will stay and work from home. When it does eventually happen, we're in talks at the moment, so nothing's finalised as yet. It will only be a 30% capacity within the call centres, and they will be using thermal scanning for their employees when they're coming into the building, to ensure that that they're all right to go in. There's no temperature. As I say, it's not finalised as yet. We're still working with the business, and we've got a call at 2 o'clock today actually about it. So yeah, overall, I think they've handled it pretty well.
Cheers, Zoe. I think that's a helpful update. Julia, just preparing you, there's quite a few sort of Openreach specific, and as your chair of the Openreach team, I think it's probably we'll ping them across to you. There's one from Steve. He's asking, have the union done enough to keep engineers safe during this period? It's quite a wide scoping question in terms of that. So I'll do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty wide ranging. I think so. It's a bit like Andy said earlier, we always believe we could do better, but I think under the circumstances and the immediacy of some of the issues that were faced, I believe we have. There was, right at the very beginning of COVID and the lockdown, there's a whole issue around key worker status and essential work, which we spent the first couple of weeks debating what was absolutely essential to be done and what wasn't. I have to say, a bit like Zoe said, in terms of overreach, we can't really fault them on the level of consultation. Every step of the way, that was going completely into lockdown, and then as we're moving into coming out of it, the consultation is, you know, we can't fault the company in the consultation from the start. They realised that they were only going to be able to do this with the help of the overreach national team and our ESRs, and I believe every bit of process has been run by us. We've had a few battles along the way. I think in the main we were listened to, and we have kept them safe. All the things that have been said around social distancing and cleanliness and provision of PPE, we've tackled every step of the way. And what we've stressed right from the beginning and all the way through, right up until now and going forward, whatever the future holds, is that a personal risk assessment trumps everything. So if somebody doesn't feel safe and they have, you know, they've got very good reason not to feel safe, particularly this came into place when we started going back into customer premises, and we had the 3 questions that needed to be asked in order that it was safe to enter the premises. But overriding everything has always been that we will support any member on a personal risk assessment, and I hope this message has gone out loud and clear. It certainly has through the industrial team. I know it has through the regional health and safety chairs, that the personal risk assessment trumps everything, and we will support anybody. There have been issues with, excuse me, with the public, and a bit like Zoe said, fortunately she's only had the 1 incident, but we have had incidents around assaults, around partly to do with the 5G conspiracy theory and some of the abuse that our members were taking as a result of that, but also the social distancing and members of the public invading our engineers' space when they're trying to get on with doing their job. And we've worked hard with the company in terms of signage and getting that message out that they are key workers, that there is no truth in the conspiracy theory, and that we will take a very hard line in order to protect our members. So yes, I believe we have. There's still, you know, this isn't going to stop. I think I'd like to thank everybody as well. I think we always knew that the USRs were key to our organisation, but COVID, if ever there was a situation that's proven that, these last 3 months or 4 months probably now, have absolutely shown the importance. And I want to thank everybody for working with us, flagging up where there are issues. I think there's a change in relationship both between health and safety, the USRs and the industrial teams, who I think have worked well together and will need to going forward. But also with the business, I think there's an absolute recognition now that they need to work with both the industrial teams and USRs for this to work in the future. And the consultation isn't going to stop. Protecting our members and some of the issues isn't going to stop. We've flagged up a number of things that need to be improved, both during COVID and going forward. And it's been a steep learning curve, but you know, we've probably made a couple of mistakes along the way, but generally I think we've worked well to protect engineers.
Thanks, Julia. I'll give you a breather before I come back to you. Okay,
Thank you.
I've got one that's no worries. I've got one here that I think actually is probably appropriate for Andy. There's a question that it says, I can see you. Can you clarify where the time will come from for the elected regional health and safety leads under redesign for BT employees, as there's currently obviously nothing in the arrangements for their release? And obviously that in that role they act as both postal and telecoms kind of work. So I don't know if you can answer that one, or whether you want to have a think about it. Microphone.
Because I think we need to have some discussions about what that actually means, and that's a discussion certainly myself and the General Secretary and Terry Pillinger from the postal side will have to have amongst us. You know, it's a technicality of how we get around it. That's the issue, and I think we. So I don't have the answer, Tracy. It's a simple question, and there's no point in me saying something because we don't have the answer to it. But it is one of the ones, you know, we have said we'd set that up. That's been agreed. It's been through a conference, so therefore it will be set up. There's no question about that. We just have to get through some of the issues. We know we have resolved these issues in the past in other areas, not just health and safety, for other people. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to resolve it. But how we actually resolve it, we haven't got the detail of that yet. But it's something, certainly it's something I'll take away, and next time we're having a meeting fairly soon, 3 or 4 days so, with Dave, and I'll raise this issue at the same time. Health and safety is an issue that Dave and I have been discussing over the last few weeks, and we are intending to have other similar discussions in the coming weeks. So this is not a thing that's going to drift into months and months. We are going to be having conversations over the next few weeks about this, because I think we're all keen trying to resolve the health and safety issue altogether, how we actually put it. And we've got some ideas. I think all of us, the 3 of us, have got ideas how that goes, and we just need to bottom them out, I think. But I think we're all agreed. It'd be fair to say we're all agreed, moving in the same direction on it. But do we have the actual answers? Not at the moment, but I think it's one of the ones we'll watch this space, but it wouldn't be long.
Okay, thanks, Andy. You can relax now. There has been a question come in from Kevin in Northern Ireland Telecoms branch regarding Rebus, and I guess as I chair that team, I might as well answer it. The question is basically, have Rebus recognised USRs? And the answer is yes, we do have a recognition agreement with Rebus and Fleet Solutions. And we are currently in discussions with them in regarding the setting up of a health and safety committee across the company. The USRs that we have been invited to those meetings now. We've got that all established and in the diary. So I think that's really important in terms of moving forward, obviously on the health and safety front with Rebus. So yes, Kevin, that is the case, and your safety rep from Northern Ireland has been invited to those meetings. So I think that's useful. Kathy, over to you in a moment. I'll let you get yourself sorted. There's a question coming for Kathy, and Kathy's obviously from Capita, and it's to do with a home working survey that's taken place. And apparently early results are showing that 35% of respondents state that they're having mental health issues due to home working, which is obviously an issue that's prevalent across society at the moment. But the question is to you is, how do you think the union are going to be able to deal with this? And what are you going to be doing?
It's a really good question. So just to give you a bit more background, I guess, around the survey, and I suppose it's based on the one that's been sent out globally, but this was specifically to the Capita O2 partnership. So interestingly, out of the 35% of the people who've said that they have suffered with mental health issues throughout the COVID-19 situation, and you've got to bear in mind that we've now got approximately 99% of people working from home. So this was a particular home working survey that actually, even though we have access to EAP services, I'll give the business the due. They've advertised mine, they've advertised EAP on all the local, intranet sites. That only 50% of those people have actually, either consulted EAP or consulted their GP or taken, any advice or help from anywhere, which I thought was quite an interesting figure. And I mean, the 35%, I guess, in itself is interesting. Out of those people, many reasons have been given, and I think, referring back to Dave's point, domestic violence, has been mentioned there. And as I say, it's only early days. The survey's only been out for approximately a week, so we're still getting the results back. So obviously, generally, people are referring to the isolation, even though in another question, 65% of them are saying that they really like home working. The people who are saying that they're suffering from mental health are saying it's been obviously impacted by working from home. And I guess that refines down, to things like work-life balance. People are trying to homeschool as well as working, which, obviously it's a big call centre. It's very difficult when you're trying to stick to your scheduled breaks and adherence, and you've maybe 2 small children, that you're trying to accommodate. So I think in answer to your question, Tracy, going forward, this looks like a huge level of support for these people. And we've now moved on because Capita were quite tardy, I guess, in getting everybody working from home. So we're literally in the last dribs and drabs, but we're almost 3 months down the line now. I know Telefonica were on it, you know, and all their guys were working from home in a very short period. I'm not quite sure what it was, but Zoe would be able to confirm what that was. So I guess for us now moving forward, it's about supporting with the home working. We will continue, we'll do another survey when we've got the results from that. And I guess it's about commsing out to our members and making sure that they know that we're here for them, and that also, you know, reminding them of all the services that are on offer, and also to keep having the conversations with the business, which we are on a regular basis. So I guess it's for everybody, it's a moving feast, isn't it? You know, and day by day things change. So, but yeah, I think the home working survey, and if anybody hasn't done one, you know, for the membership, I absolutely suggest that you do one on a, you know, a local branch level, because quite interesting stuff coming out of that. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. That's really interesting. I think interestingly, as well as while you're talking about this and talking about mental health, we've had a question come in from one of the safety reps, and it's asking about the increasing mental health issues that reps are dealing with, especially within BT. And what are the CWU going to do to enable that BT take the issues seriously, and that managers really importantly understand what those issues are and how they should be dealing with mental health cases? So, Dave, I think probably we've obviously been doing quite a lot of work on mental health within BT. If you could just probably respond to that.
Yeah, it's a good question, and mental health's just not been an issue during this crisis. It's been an issue for years, and we, as the personnel team within BT, we've been pushing the company on a number of fronts. Firstly, is the training of managers. We've pushed the company to try and get as many managers trained up on how to deal with people that are suffering from mental health, but also to think about their own behaviour. They're in a position of responsibility and authority, and think about how they treat people in the workplace. That's been important. The personnel team have been through that training, so we do know certainly in BT what managers have been trained to do, and so it is useful. And I think I sent some of the information around that out to the regional BT committee chairs and secretaries on that. So we're doing that. I've also spoken to Kate Hudson, who leads the Equality and Education Department in headquarters, about mental health, ill health training for CWU representatives right across, be it branch officers, USRs, or other representatives, or even members if they wanted to undertake that. And Kate's sort of emailed me a few weeks back saying that they'd bought a package, I suppose very similar to what we're doing now, in order to try and get to as many people as possible to actually take part and undertake mental ill health awareness. And so her team working on a course, if you like, for people to be able to do it remotely. So it's a way of getting to as many people as possible, in the right way, in a way that actually works, and that people can take something away from the courses and what's being said, and so that they can help deal with difficult situations. And I know lots of people, lots of branch officers, USRs, have had difficult circumstances to deal with, and individuals who been in sometimes very dark places. So I'm hoping that will be pushed out in the next, well, I would say months rather than weeks. But we are pushing the employers to give the managers the tools to be able not only to deal with the issue, but actually remind themselves of how they should be treating people to prevent mental ill health They're not the instigators of it. In a lot of cases, it's lots of things that cause mental ill health. So we're doing that, and we're working as a union to try and get a wider scope, a wider number of representatives being trained up, if you like, on how to deal with and how to recognise and how to signpost people towards mental ill health help. So hopefully that sort of answers some of that, Tracy.
Okay, thanks there, Dave. Yeah, I think that's helpful, and obviously that that's a continual process that we're doing in terms of that subject with the company. So we'll obviously revisit that again. Lots and lots of questions coming in. There are some issues, Dave, just while you're there before you settle down. We've got quite a number of questions related to BT over the accident reporting system known as CALM, which I think has probably resulted in anything but a calm response from ourselves. Could you just give a really brief update? Because I don't want to get into too much detail on that, because obviously this is across the T&Fs.
Yeah.
Could you just give a brief update of where we are with that?
All right, we'll do, and it is an issue. And Tracy and myself have spoken to the company. We've actually arranged another call in just over last couple of weeks' time now. There are all sorts of issues. Without going into too much detail, I don't think, as it stands, the CAM system is up to the task of doing what we expect it to do. There's issues around whether or not, for example, when people actually submit an accident statement, whether or not the union's been advised that they want the union involved and want the support of the union. There's issues around whether or not the paperwork is actually disclosed. There's issues around reports going missing, issues about actually making public the accidents, so that we can, even if somebody doesn't want an accident, the CBO involved, we should still be able to actually investigate the accident that they've had. So it's about prevention. A lot of what USRs do is trying to prevent people from having accidents and from being hurt at work. So I recognise the problems. We're making some progress, right, on the CAM issues, but it's still got a long way to go. But it's something that I think we can improve on. It's not going to be perfect, but I think we can improve it.
Okay, thanks, Dave, for that one. Once again, loads and loads of questions coming in. I'll come back to you now, Julia. There's a question coming here about new recruits and being buddied on SI CAB work, and will be buddied on CAL OMI work soon. And I know you've been working and having a lot of dialogue with Openreach around that, and it's concerns around the safety implications of the 2-metre rule and what PPE would be used in the sort of the buddying process.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I say, everything coming out of lockdown, we've had consultation on framework, basically, so that any changes as we come back out of it, and buddying is one of them. Our USRs will be aware that, so training centres, accreditation centres, and anything to support new recruits. The company quite clearly consider that to be now key and essential, that those new recruits are, wherever possible, brought back up to speed or to start their journey. And buddying is part of that. We have been very clear that it's voluntary, that both the person who is being buddied and the buddy has to agree to it. It is voluntary, and that all the normal practices apply around social distancing, PPE, cleanliness, everything still applies. So all the documentation we've seen, we are confident that that can take place safely, particularly with the clause of voluntary. So anybody who's uncomfortable with it or has reason not to, as I said before, the personal risk assessment is key. So basically, we need to know what we have seen, it can be done safely. If anybody has any examples, we need both the new recruit and the person who's buddying to be aware that they can at any point call out that they don't think it's safe. And like with all the other processes, the job would stop If anybody says this is there's an element to it that's unsafe, whether that be to do with the inability to social distance or anything else, then the job stops. And up till now, I have to say we've not had anything flagged in to say that there are specific concerns. But this is the importance of the relationship between the industrial team and the USRs. You know, we can agree, and that is the process, that any changes come through the industrial team to sanction the requirement for it to take place. In other words, when they open the training centres, is there a genuine need? Is it essential? And the risk assessment around whether that can be done safely. But once that's happened and once it's been signed off by the industrial team that everything looks to be okay, we are very conscious that we can't be everywhere. Our USRs are the eyes and ears to flag to us where that is not the case. Now, it may be that, you know, we've missed something generic that poses a problem, in which case we'd have to go back and revisit the risk assessment, or it could be that there are specific individual circumstances that for whatever reason somebody's being too relaxed around it, or is put under pressure that shouldn't be there. And you've got our absolute support. If there's any examples of where the risk assessment is not being adhered to, or you believe that the risk assessment has missed something crucial, we will address it. You know, this is, as I said before, it's a steep learning curve. There will be some examples, but I think in the main, the process and the risk assessment that's been done does keep our members safe.
Okay, thanks there, Julia. I think that hopefully clarifies that. Lots and lots of questions coming in. There's particularly, back to you, Zoe. We've got one coming in for Telefonica. What it's saying is that apparently 70% of employees are working from home at the moment with no set date of return. So the question is about, once again, increase of mental health issues during this time, and, you know, what is the business doing to support these employees? I think a little bit of that you did, you know, cover off earlier, but I just want to give you the opportunity to come back in.
Yeah, obviously before lockdown we did have cases of mental health issues, and I've got a very good USR, to be fair, Lisa, who looks after quite a number of our members with mental health issues. And I know that she's been in consultation with Ian Mackay, who is the health and safety representative for the business for Telefonica. And she's working very closely with him and engaging with him for, you know, support mechanisms to be put in place over and above what we already have in the business for when people, you know, if they do come back in and they're flagged up as with mental health issues. I know that she's asked for we have an OH referral service with AXA PPP currently, and they're going to be, I think they've introduced face-to-face counselling as well for individuals that have been impacted during the lockdown process with mental health issues. And then Telefonica have their Be Supported system as well, which a manager can refer somebody via that for the support that they need. But I know it's something that Lisa has been dealing with as the USR for West Yorkshire branch in Telefonica. And we do have a call set up for next week with the business, with Ian Mackay, to discuss further things being put in place for people that have been impacted.
Thanks there, Zoe. Okay, there's quite a lot of questions coming in regarding I suppose the wearing of face shields, masks, particularly on the BT estate. These questions are coming in from, and concerns obviously regarding social distancing being reduced to less than the 2 meters. And I think that what we're looking for in terms of the questions is what's our thinking on this, what's our feeling, and how do we intend to respond to any move to, I guess, reduce under the 2 meter distancing. There's lots of discussions out there, lots of Tory backbenchers at the moment having that sort of discussion. So I'll throw that open to anybody, including you, Andy. Any green lights on? Well done. Come on, Andy.
I suppose I will come in. I suppose the situation is, have we in CW got a line on 2 meters or 1 meter, 1.5 meters, or anything else? The answer is no. The issue is quite clear that the government guidelines at the moment are 2 meters. and we will obviously work to that piece. And to be fair, I mean, the companies will have to work to that. If the government do relinquish it down to 1.5 as it is in some other countries, or even a meter as it is in lots of other countries, actually, that's what the companies will then move to. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And then we'll have to but that then will put us back into the position. We have worked out our health and safety guidelines based on 2 meters at the moment for return to work, and that's how yourselves have done some of that work in the workplaces. We've looked at it from a national position based on 2 meters. Obviously, if that goes down, we have to relook at that. And what does it mean? So it won't just mean, I don't believe it just means you move from 2 to 1 and everything else stays the same. I think other things potential will have to be put in place, and that's a discussion we'll probably have to go back into the discussion again, all with the companies we deal with, to have that, especially in contact centres, for example. That's a major issue at the moment. Moving from 2 meters to 1 meter virtually could double the size of the workers in that workplace. That brings into other question, not just on the floor of the contact centre, but the access to the contact centre, stairwells, lifts, and all the other bits that come into it. So just moving it, moving it down slightly has major consequences. And again, it's the same as Julia has mentioned in the field. That would have major consequences for field engineering if you moved it from 2 to 1. So I think we would have to go by government guidelines. I just hope that they do listen to the scientists and the rest of it. I think we all know that 2 meter distancing, the likelihood is going to move. The question is when. And I don't believe it's the right time personally. For a personal view, I don't believe this is a time to revisit that at the moment. It might be in a period of time. I don't think it's been proven. I'm no scientist, but I don't think it's been proven in any way, shape, or form. And I just hope the government listen. They don't have a good record of it, but I hope they do listen to the scientists and not listen to the businessmen. Because that's the fear I've got.
Cheers, Andy. Dave, did you want to come in?
Yeah, just the issue, for example, of face masks is an interesting one, because early into the COVID crisis, people and experts were saying that the use of face coverings or face masks were really of not a great deal of use, and there's still that opinion in some areas. The issue is that the government now is essentially going to fine people for not wearing them, even though potentially they might not be any good. So there's this confusion over the face mask and PPE. But if we're going to have to use them, then we should use them. But the issue around, for example, social distancing, for people to be able to move back into a workplace, as I said earlier, a risk assessment has got to have been done, and that workplace has to be what they term COVID ready. And that is a legal requirement on companies, that a risk assessment's done. The local risk assessment should be done with obviously the local CW USR and the company, whoever they choose to put forward. So all these things around touch points, social distancing, and all the other things that they've got to comply with should be in place before people sort of start coming back. It will be, if like a phased return. So it's right that we have all these things in place. I think in practice it's going to be difficult to enforce at times, but the companies cannot just bring people back. They have to be legally complying with the government's own safety standards, if you like. So there are things that we can do as a union and as USRs. You can hold them, or we can hold them to what the government standards are, and that's useful. And we have been doing Tracy and I was on a call. We were on a call earlier this morning around the reoccupation of buildings and how we were going to do what we were going to do. For example, if keypads, touch pads, moving into security pads that you move into a building and stuff, and how often should they be cleaned, and what's the issues around that, and should you switch them off and do something else? And it's all gets very complex, but it's all very necessary, because I think we should forget that certainly over 50,000 people have died during this crisis due to COVID, and that figure is probably higher, but it's still just a great tragedy over the last few weeks, and we are definitely trying, as I know everybody is, trying to prevent people contracting the virus. So it is important. All these standards are important to actually contain what's going on. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. There. We've had that. Actually, it's quite nice, but we've had a thank you come in on the chat as well to say thank you to the CW, particularly in the work that was done to achieve home working for people, and that's obviously been really appreciated. So that's nice. So thank you for that. There's quite a lot of discussion, and this is where we get probably a little bit focused on the dominance of BT, but there's quite a lot of concern being expressed regarding the cleanliness of the buildings in BT at the moment, the state of the estate, jobs not being dealt with in terms of clearing them off, actions taken, and really, the question, I guess, the big question is what are we going to do as a union to try to resolve these issues that seem to be growing, with I guess what is a deteriorating load of buildings and the challenges that are on there. And I think there's a feeling of some of the questions maybe around sort of the work, or there's a feeling or perception that this work has got worse since the outsourcing of the facility services to CBRE and ISF, but it's obviously the safety jobs are the ones that are causing the real issues. So I think that's one for you, Dave, unless anybody else fancies coming in on that.
No, yeah, I'm happy to answer the question. Well, try and answer the question. Cleanliness is an absolute key to preventing the spread of the virus, particularly from like hard surfaces. And it's not just the health and safety team, Tracy's team, the other teams that Tracy are on, and other officers throughout the union, representing throughout the union, pushing the company or companies to actually get the cleaning right. If there are specific examples, and I'm sure people can give us some, if there are examples that can't be resolved, or you've tried to resolve and can't resolve it, by all means pass it up to anybody in the team or come to myself and I'll pass that round. If you don't struggle to try and resolve these issues, go to your, obviously if it's a USR, go to your branch office and try and resolve it, try and move through the structure. And but absolutely, there's nobody on this team that won't pick up anything that that you raise if you can't resolve it in any part of the structure. I think, and I think one or two people have said, to be fair to companies, so certainly over the last few weeks, they have endeavoured to try and get a lot of this right, certainly the ones that we've been dealing with. At the beginning of the crisis, people were more or less making it up as they went along and not really knowing what to do, and it was all a bit hit and miss and not particularly good. But I think through our interactions, and to be fair, some of what the government's been doing has helped bring employers round to actually recognising that all these things are absolutely key to keeping people safe. It's not going to be, I don't think there's going to be cases where we're going to have to do something. If necessary, we might have to take it outside companies if they don't listen. It's not really our sort of way of doing things. Most of the time we all try and resolve things within the companies that we deal with, and that's the best way to try and resolve it. But if it gets to a point where companies don't listen, then we'll have to look at other ways. But again, this is all about the USRs in the workplace, the regional chairs, safety chairs, and all the other branch offices. It's all our problem. It's all our issue. We've all got the ability to try and resolve these issues. So just if you can't resolve something, raise it either with the branch or regional people or with this team at headquarters, and we will do everything possible to try and resolve these things.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I think some of that question was also posed around, I guess, the frustrations, and obviously I've been involved in some of the escalations where it's proving and has proved quite difficult to get resolution because of a whole host of different things with the company and the relationship or the contract between CBRE and BT. So I do think we've got work to do on that, but I know because I'm sitting there, there's lots of work in progress to try to work our way through that. So I think there'll be some information going out soon in terms of that escalation process. We are getting, just really quickly, because we are getting to the end of the session. I think Zoe's got to go on another call, so bye Zoe. And thanks for joining us. There are questions coming in regarding face masks, quite a few of them, and obviously linked to the fact that we know people are returning to work in a little more of a sense, and so on and so forth. So the question is, whose responsibility should it be to be given the face mask if you need them at work or you feel you need them, and what is the situation in terms of using face masks in a work scenario? And obviously there'll be different approaches from different companies. So Dave, I mean, in terms of BT, what do you think the position should be in terms of provision of face masks? Should they be providing them for people to travel to work and wear them if they're on public transport, or in, obviously buildings where they become more populated? What's your thinking on this?
Well, that's a good question, really. First and foremost, within the workplace, the employer should provide health and safety equipment free. You should not have to pay for anything, and that's the point. Certainly for within the workplace, I've had an issue, and I have to say I've not been successful at this moment in time in trying to get employers to pay where they want people to travel into work and they have to go via public transport to actually supply the masks for those people that are travelling via public transport. I've not been as yet successful on that, but I'm not going to give that up, because on the basis that obviously the individual potentially wants to come back to work, but it is at the company's request that they come back into the workplace. And I think there's a genuine argument. It's an argument that I'd like all of us to use, both from the branch USRs to branches and everywhere else, that if people are expected to come into work and they're going to travel on public transport and they need safety equipment such as a face mask, then the employer, in my view, should pay for that. And I think we need to keep arguing that. Like I say, I've not been successful with that argument, but I'm not going to leave it. But it is an issue, Tracy.
Thank you, Dave. I mean, we are coming to the end of the session now. There's just one general question that's come up, and it's really around, I guess, this type of session, the communications that we do as a team. Obviously, there's been, and Andy's outlined at the beginning of the session, sort of changes that are going on a national level in terms of health and safety. And there's a worry that perhaps communications are not as good as what they could be. What are we looking at in terms of trying to improve that, and in terms of LTVs or whatever else? So, I think either Andy or Dave, you might want to come in and just hopefully position that we know we're looking to improve everything that we're doing.
Do you want me to do it, Andy? Yeah. Well, that's a good question, and look, this is the purpose of this call, right? This is an absolute case of that question saying to us, we think we could do something different. So let's look at it. I mean, we're always, Andy keeps saying, we always want to try and improve and get better. If what people are saying that on health and safety, we're not publishing things, or people are not getting enough information, or want us to do something differently, then fine. Tell us what it is and what your ideas are, and we're happy to pick it up. If people think that they're not getting enough information on various things, then we will look at that, because we probably don't get it right all the time, and that's fine. But the purpose of this call is exactly that question for me: is can you do something different, because we think it's not quite as good as it should be. That's fine. give us the ideas, and we'll pick them up. You know, we're happy to learn on that basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come in, Tracy, just for that, if you don't mind. I'm going to have to go off because I'm supposed to be in a meeting with the General Secretary at the moment. But anyway, this is more important. And I'll tell him that. No, you're right. Look, communications can be improved. And I think what's been, if there's such a thing as anything been good coming out of COVID, and I don't mean that in any, hopefully nobody takes any offence at that, is our ability to work and not have to travel half the, the length and breadth of the country to come to a meeting that lasts for 2 or 3 years and travel the length and breadth of the country back again. For a long while, I've argued that it's a lot of waste of time, effort, and the rest of it. We talk about mental health issues. I mean, people have got mental health issues travelling and the excessive travel that they do. We have to take that into consideration too. So there will be different ways of working. We know that we can improve even this sort of stuff, whether it's Zoom, GoToMeets, or whatever way we do it, we can improve it, and it will improve. But the main thing for me is to be able to get the ability to get people in a room and get a two-way conversation going. That's the important thing, is to get people together and be able to iron out a issue. So I can give you an absolute assurance for our point of view. We will be looking at how we can improve everything, and I mean that from every level all the way through. It's I think the relationship, if you take BT for example, the regional BT health and safety reps interface with us at head office, I believe is better than it was. I believe it's better. I believe it can still get better again. But that'll be, and it should be done on a more regular basis. And the piece for me is there's work for us all to do. And I think we need to engage more. There's a bit of me says for health and safety reps. Again, sorry, just to say something about BT, but I'll do it in that respect. But when we start to look at, and we will be looking at again, I believe, how we've set up the national teams, how we've then got below that some regional people, and how the interaction goes. The concept's right. Have we got it absolutely correct? No, we're still improving it and we've improved it actually over the last few weeks. Well, we need to take that into the health and safety context. How does that operate? How can we operate better there? So I think there is lots of good stuff that we can actually do. What Dave said at the beginning is the issue for me is we need to make sure you're involved in some of those discussions that take place. Because we have to do it together. That's the whole point. We have to do it together. So that will work. We'll be working it through over the next few months, if you like. Can I just go back in something that was said a minute ago, Tracy? Just a second ago, there was a question that somebody asked about the state of some buildings. And I think the reference was in the main to BT, but maybe it wasn't exclusively. But and not taking away anything at all from what Dave said as a reply to it. The one thing I would say in that is it's really important we understand that at every level, whether it's a safety rep or a member or whatever, if there is issues with buildings, do everything that Dave says we should do that, and that's absolutely right. But what we shouldn't do is take it out on our people who are fellow members who work for who are cleaners and who are facility management people. That's not these people are not to blame in any way, shape, or form for the state of the fabric of any of these buildings. It's important that it's because of the cutbacks and the pressure they're under. Half the problems are there. So I think people just have to keep it in mind. They're certainly not the enemy. They are our fellow members and should be treated as such. If we've got a problem with a building, probably with facilities in a building, we take it out with the management. That's where the problem should lie. And if we don't get, satisfaction, we do everything that Dave says, escalate it through the proper process. But I do need to leave this call, so I do thank everybody for allowing me on. And as people have said, I'm sure this is not going to be the last one of these meetings. So thanks all for attending.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy, for that. Cheers. Okay, well, we are, I think, just about at time for the session anyway. So I just want to hand over to Dave just to, I think, maybe give a few closing remarks, and then I'll close the meeting.
Well, thanks, Tracy. It's always a bit, I think this has been really useful personally. It's always a bit difficult when you're sort of communicating people and you can't see them, you know, they're just sort of emailing questions and stuff. But the question has been a lot of questions, and that shows, you know, a good level of interest. This, as far as I'm aware, this this meeting is being recorded. So what we will do is send out to branches and representatives, and hopefully you can pass this out to whoever. It's largely aimed at the USRs, but please pass it on to whoever. I found it useful, and if people that have sort of taken part find it useful, then by all means let's do it again, and let's maybe even put some regular calls in, sort of stroke meetings in the diary. I'd be interested in people's view on that. And if you've not, if you think of questions that you know, after the call, or by all means just email any of the team. I know sort of Zoe's gone, and Kathy's here. I think Debbie, hi Kathy. Debbie couldn't make it for all those reasons, and Tom's not being able to make it as well. But by all means, contact them and us, and let us know what you think. If you think it's useful, then let's do it again. My personal view is, I don't know about anybody else.
Thanks for that, Dave. I think just in closing, the level of questions that we've come in, and apologies because there are so many, and that we are, you know, we're not going to be able to cover them off on today's call. But as we said, that we will get back to people. We can do that. And there is lots and lots we haven't answered, which perhaps suggests to me that this call and this type of forum is really useful. So thank you. Hopefully we will look to hold these again, and we'll obviously take the feedback. I certainly will have the dialogue with the regional health and safety chairs that we've got in BT, and obviously the teams, the Santander, Capital Telefonica teams. Not forgetting we've also got safety reps in CBRE that are on the call. We've got safety reps, as we said, in Reba. So we've got a whole, you know, broad base of safety reps that, you know, obviously we'll consult with in terms of moving this forward. I just want to thank, obviously, fellow panelists on here for answering the questions today. So thank you very much. And also, I think more so to thank yourselves for the time in coming and obviously joining with us today. So thank you very much. Okay, take care.